evacuation coming in.
There's water.
This is not good.
In part 1 of our Icelandic adventure, we left off aboard the ferry Baldur, headed to our dream destination, the remote and isolated Westfjords. So far we covered almost 1200 kilometers over the last 20 days, fighting through snowed-in mountain passes, plenty of rain, and above all, a near constant headwind, which followed us pretty much across the whole country. And even that would be nothing compared to what we would face over the next few weeks. But before the hardships of navigating through the rugged fjords and mountains of Westfjords could start, we had to plan a route. We've not showered for a good few days now, and our batteries were running pretty low, so we decided to stay indoors for the night and regroup in the peace and warmth of a hostel. After a restful night, over breakfast we planned probably the longest and most hilly route possible, and it was time to get going. And from the very first kilometers, we knew we made the right choice coming to the Westfjords. It was exactly what we imagined, if not better. Endless nature, winding roads along the coastline, and unbelievable panoramas from the top of the many climbs we had to do along the route. Even the roads were empty. It was such a nice change from the crowded ring road. At least we were staying quite warm with all the exercise, and the descents were really fun without traffic. And after a tough and climby couple days, we really needed to take care of ourselves. So, it was time for spa. Next to the gravel road we were following, in the absolute middle of nowhere, we found a hot pot. And not just any old hot pot. The water from a natural spring nearby was flowing down into a man-made concrete pool, complete with changing rooms and even toilets. Normal flushing ones, just like in a house, except the water was boiling hot. Let's just say that was an interesting bathroom experience. And after settling down for the night and making some food, it was time for the highlight of the day, a midnight swim. There is something so special about swimming in a hot pool in the middle of nowhere in Iceland, while watching the sun setting behind the snow-capped mountains on the horizon. Getting out of the water into the freezing air is not as enjoyable, but the changing rooms provided plenty of shelter and warmth. In the end, we decided to just sleep inside. No point in setting up a tent when we can just do a quick nap on the floor. We weren't exactly expecting any visitors. And the morning greeted us with some really beautiful weather for once. Unfortunately, we slept so well and woke up so late, we didn't have time for another swim.
My God, we came from down there. That was a lot. Really big. They are building Iceland now.
The later it got, the more worrying the weather became. And we were on a gravel road on top of a mountain, far from civilization and with pretty much no shelter around. So we just kept on riding, and by some miracle, just before the rain started, we got to the most famous landmark in the whole area, the Dynjandi waterfall. And I have to say, maybe it's not on any list of the most powerful or highest waterfalls, but it certainly is on our list of the most beautiful. And it is quite popular, at least for the Westfjords. There's a big parking area, a grassy field where camping is allowed, and most importantly for us, toilets. And that means shelter. We decided to bend the rules a bit on this occasion, and instead of setting up the tent, we decided to just sleep in the heated bathroom. As if in punishment for our behavior, we woke up to a gloomy and rainy day.
Need to go?
Yes, please.
Do you want to go?
Yes.
Bye, beautiful waterfall.
And after packing up, we decided to not overstay our welcome and just brave the rain. It was time to head to Isafjord, the capital of Westfjords. Leaving the second and last tunnel of the day, we finally saw the city. Well, it's a big word for Isafjordur. It's more of a small fishing village, but for the Westfjords it seems huge. The next stretch would take us through over 200 kilometers of complete wilderness. We really needed some rest and to resupply, and the forecast wasn't exactly great. And after a restful night in the hotel, we woke up to our worst nightmare: rain. As per usual, 5 minutes till checkout. Still not checked out. Not close. First true day of misery, huh? It's not raining much, but it's raining all the time. Although, all things considered, after 20-some days in Iceland, this being our first miserable day, is somewhat impressive, no?
Not good weather for acai.
But there was no time to waste. So after a quick visit to the shops, we set off into the unknown.
We came from there. We slept here. And we are going there.
The rain followed us for the rest of the day. At first it wasn't too bad. The waterproof pants and jackets kept us pretty warm and dry in the drizzle. But then it stopped being just a drizzle. In minutes we were completely soaked. And soon after we started getting really cold. It was still near zero after all. So the moment it stopped raining, we set up the tent on the side of the road. It's never nice getting in the tent all wet and having to deal with all the soaked gear, but nothing beats the feeling of getting into a warm and dry sleeping bag. Well, maybe one thing. Waking up after a miserable rainy day to the sun shining through the tent.
Piece of bread, asparagus, and beans.
With the clouds and fog all gone, we even discovered we set up right next to a waterfall. so of course we had to see it up close and enjoy some of its ice-cold water. Little did we know, we were about to have the most memorable day of the whole trip. One of the big reasons we wanted to get to Westfjords so bad was the wildlife. With so few people around, the animals rule the land. We already got to see 2 Arctic foxes running around and literally hundreds of seals basking in the sun and playing around in the water. But that was only the beginning.
They will come upstairs?
We were just casually riding along a fjord, looking out for seals, when all of a sudden we heard a strange puffing sound coming out of the water. And there it was, a whale. Actually, a whole school of whales swimming around the fjord.
Yay!
We spent the next hour or so riding around, looking for a good spot to get as close to the whales as possible.
Oh, this is really cool.
And as we were about to leave, satisfied with the shots we managed to get, Hnata had the best idea ever. The drone. Turns out it was humpbacks, and they were absolutely stunning. And even though getting them on the drone was incredibly difficult, it was so worth it. What majestic creatures. Time just flew by watching the whales, and before we even noticed, the sun started setting. We couldn't see much of the whales anymore, so we had to hit the road and get at least a bit of riding done. But not so soon. First we needed to deal with a mechanical. Today is a day of whales and broken shit. I think it's fixed for now.
Stay there.
Please.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on today. With light quickly fading, we arrived at a place called Seals, Whales and Kayaks.
After a day watching whales, dinner at midnight 15.
And seals.
And seals. Pasta with pesto. Yum yum. Very happy.
Not really. After waking up, we spotted some seals sunbathing on the rocks nearby. And the seals never really stopped throughout the day. Pretty much every time we looked off the road and into the water, there was at least a couple swimming around. Unfortunately, our time enjoying the curious seals didn't last very long. Weather in the Westfjords can go from sun to downpour in a matter of minutes. And again it was raining. And again it was raining quite a bit. At least we knew it could happen this time, and we were ready. We found a spot on the map which could provide us not only some shelter, but a sheltered hot pot to warm us up. Imagine the disappointment when we turned up to the place, completely cold and wet, only to find the hot pot locked. But we were completely done with the rain and decided to just set up nearby.
It's raining a lot.
It's raining too much. Yeah, we have a hole. There's water coming in.
There's water. Uh-oh. Oh no. This is not good. Oi. MSR, please help.
Soon enough the rain subsided, leaving us relatively dry in the tent. And once again we woke up to a beautiful blue sky. We decided to at least get some use of the little building hiding the hot spring.
Private pool, only open to public when locked. The owner came, did not unlock.
So breakfast.
So we'll use the changing room.
Even though the morning was quite nice, the good weather didn't last very long. But for once we were in luck. As the drizzle started turning into downpour, we spotted an old bridge and it was just the perfect spot to hide under. We were very happy with the shelter, but not so happy with the rain. A big 500-meter climb stood between us and civilization, and if it didn't stop raining soon, we would be in big trouble. So the moment the worst passed and the sky cleared up just a bit, we were back on the bikes and climbing. By the time the clouds came back, we were so high up already that instead of rain we were getting snow.
It's not good.
It's still not the easiest conditions for a steep climb, but at the very top we were greeted with blue skies and stunning wintry landscapes.
You will have a shower?
I will have shower. Oh, I was very proud this morning with the old people. Because they say, oh, where are you coming from? I say, Isafjords. And they say, Isafjords. I say, oh, where are you going to? I say, Holmavik. And they look at me, Holmavik, the same way I said.
We have toilets here and plugs, campsite here, and we go to the pool to have a shower. Very happy.
Now I'm getting a bit cold.
Yeah, I imagine, love. Tofu with onions, pasta.
Chef.
I hope it's big.
It's very big.
Good.
Unfortunately, the morning didn't bring great news. We were in for some rough weather. The wind was up, and all along our route the forecast predicted rain. Somehow Holmavik, the town we were in, was not supposed to get any rain though, so we decided to just wait it out. We set up in a gas station slash grocery slash bar and started planning our next steps.
Margarita and pomodori. And we spent how many hours here? Already 10 hours? In this table, waiting for the weather to get better.
What we didn't expect was that the bikes we left back on the campsite were not in fact safe. The majority of the time Iceland is so safe that we didn't even bother locking the bikes, but when we came back ready to ride off, we found someone had been messing around with our gear. Our bags were opened, filled with trash, some stuff moved around. It was the perfect crime. We had no clue who did it, or even why, until we noticed the GoPro attached to my handlebars was on and recording. And after reviewing the footage we had the answer. It was the local school kids with nothing better to do than messing with our bikes, and somehow in the process they managed to completely incriminate themselves. But that whole incident made us even more late than we already were. During the day we realized we only had 1 week left in Iceland. It just wasn't doable by bike. So we decided to take the bus, all the way from the Westfjords to Akureyri. But we weren't the only cyclists keen on taking that bus.
We were in Iceland first! And we will be on the bus first!
It's a funny story actually. On one of the first days in Iceland, we were contacted by a group of German travelers also headed there. And how did they find us? They read one of the guest book entries we left in a shelter somewhere in Denmark, and they would be a few days behind us, but following a similar route. Except where we were making painfully slow progress with a massive headwind, they were catching up with a tailwind. We were both catching the ferry back on the same date, so we were all out of time. We talked it through and it was decided we would take the early bus, and they would take the later one.
It's incredible steep.
And after riding through the night on steep gravel climbs, sleeping for about 3 hours, and racing through the last 60 kilometers, we made it. And we were on the bus towards Akureyri, happily munching on crisps and admiring the views out the window. After we arrived, the lack of sleep and the big morning ride caught up to us, and we were positively spent. The Akureyri hostel offered a very good rate for a room, and it came with a fully stocked kitchen. We would also get to explore the city in the morning, and since we didn't get to see Reykjavik, we stayed the night.
Bye-bye. Now it's time for carry the things. Goodbye, Rob. 3 minutes. And Doris is just there.
Yeah, fall on my ass. If I haven't recorded, that would be wonderful.
and was a good choice. Akureyri is actually a really cool place. The big church in the middle was unfortunately under renovations, but at least we got to see it from the outside. With the city explored and our legs rested, it was finally time to hit the road again, and we were in for some really stunning views of the fjord. We were headed to Húsavík, the famous whale capital of Iceland, but on the way we had one very important stop to make: Godafoss. And we arrived just in time for dinner. Godafoss is considered by many people to be the most beautiful waterfall in Iceland. I'm not sure I agree after witnessing Dynjandi in the Westfjords, but it's still a majestic view to have while you eat. The meal itself was quite simple, just beans on bread.
Time to eat with this beautiful view. So, hygiene suggestions.
No hygiene.
Put your bread
Slam it
slice
on the table.
on the table.
And then put your beans on top of the bread. Preferably not on the table.
Exactly.
With our bellies full and Godafoss explored, it was time to head on. We were determined to get as far as possible, and riding into the sunset is sort of our specialty.
I need to keep my eye closed because it's cold.
But we were not expecting the sunset to be so incredible. The combination of baby blue skies, just the perfect amount of clouds, and the road being completely surrounded by water made for some unreal images. The morning was full of birds and stunning views, but we were hoping these weren't the only birds we would see. A couple days ago we learned the Puffins returned to Iceland, and we were on our way to some bird cliffs. We were really hoping they would show. By the time we got to the cliffs, it was already evening. We made it in the perfect time to see the puffins returning from the sea to their nests, and there were so many of them. Hnata has seen puffins before, and absolutely loves them, so she was really excited to finally show me. And I must say, I get it. They are such busy creatures. You can just sit there and watch them for hours. They are cute, clumsy, they make great photo subjects, and the noises they make are just hilarious. Time flew by as we were watching the birds, and by the time we were ready to leave, the day was already coming to an end.
Goodbye. And I think we should rest because we are a bit tired.
No, it's already 8, so...
Yes.
I really enjoyed the Puffin.
You really enjoy them?
I really enjoyed them.
Time to go home.
So we decided to take a little detour to one of the biggest tourist hotspots of northern Iceland, Asbyrgi, and stay there for the night. As per usual, we arrived to the campsite around midnight, and after a hot shower, we cook up some pasta with tofu. Which, by the way, we were still carrying since Reykjavik.
Definitely got much colder.
Yeah.
The morning surprised us with by far the warmest temperatures we've seen.
Very good.
You like it?
I did put it in a place where it got very wet and now it smells a bit fixed.
Time for the breakfast?
Yeah.
There was a little problem though. With the heat came the bugs. A lot of bugs.
Usually, in the sunlight, there's no bugs. They don't like it, they're in the shadow. Here, don't care. But they are quite respectful and they don't go into the coffee, for example.
With the weather this good, we made quick work of breakfast and headed out for a little hike to explore the area. And Asbyrgi is very unique, even for Iceland. It's an absolutely huge horseshoe-shaped canyon with tall vertical cliffs on all sides.
Come on, pirate.
What makes Asbyrgi different than the rest of Iceland is the vegetation. Unlike all the rest of the country, it's completely covered in trees, bushes and tall grasses. We were a bit too early in the year to really appreciate how green and lush it can get, but even in the usual yellow-brown color palette, the views were really nice, especially from up top. Satisfied with the hike, we got back on the bikes and hurried to take advantage of the sun. For the first time we were leaving the coast behind and heading inland, well into the Icelandic highlands. The next time we would see the ocean would be on the ferry back home. The trip was slowly coming to an end, and the past few days were packed to the brim of excitement and attractions, but we were not done just yet. Next on our route was Dettifoss, the most powerful waterfall in all of Iceland. But the heat brought with it one more little issue. Absolutely everything was melting, and getting to the waterfall required a hike through the recently frozen over highlands. Well, we were too early in the year for the snow to be completely melted, and too late for it to be completely frozen. So the whole way there we had to navigate incredibly slippery ice, tricky river crossings, and even climb over a big puddle covering the walkway. But even if getting there was even harder, it would have been completely worth it. If you want to really see how beautiful and powerful nature can be, just come to Dettifoss. The sheer amount of water falling down such a high cliff is almost unbelievable. The noise it makes alone is just shocking.
How do you feel being in Dettifoss with a rainbow?
Very happy.
But we still had to get back to the bikes, and the hike didn't get any less sketchy. But now we had a good technique figured out, and we managed to get over all the obstacles without a scratch. After returning to the ring road, we were greeted by the first signs pointing us towards the finish. When the sun finally went down, we found a spot at the foot of an old volcano and decided to just call it a day.
One more breakfast in bed.
The morning greeted us with some great views and the return of an old friend, the wind. We didn't exactly check the weather last night, and now we were paying the price. Our little camp spot was in the middle of a perfectly flat valley, with zero shelter around, and packing the tent turned out to be quite the challenge. But we are the glass half full type people, so at least nothing broke. And with the tent safely packed away in our panniers, we set off straight into the wind. It seems like no matter which way you turn, in Iceland it's always a headwind. At least we managed to find some shelter and hot dogs.
I will need a proper review.
It's a 10 out of 10 hot dog.
Yes?
Fried onions at the bottom.
I'm happy for you.
No vegan food for Hnata, I'm afraid, but I enjoyed it enough for the both of us. Pasta with sauce and tofu. And at last, we managed to close the loop. We were back where the adventure started. Immediately after getting to Eilstadir, we went for a celebratory burger and to the campsite to have a shower and some sleep. We might have closed the loop, but the journey was still not over. The last thing standing between us and the ferry was a steep 600-meter tall climb. And the last time we saw it out of the bus window, it was completely covered in snow and impossible to cross on a bike. So understandably we were quite anxious. But Eilstadir looked like a completely different place than a month ago. The campsite was so crowded, and there were even other cyclists, including the German travelers we mentioned before.
Well packed for a climb. Thinking about the climb?
After a quick breakfast and some last-minute shopping, it was finally time to tackle the pass. And very quickly, all our worries disappeared. Don't get me wrong, the climb was still steep and tough, but without the snow it was very doable, and the views certainly made up for the struggle. Not only that, but literally minutes before getting to the top, we found what is possibly the coolest souvenir laying in the snow right beside the road. We managed to find a reindeer antler, and a huge one at that, and it was definitely coming with us. And there it was, right at the bottom of the valley, Norrona, our finish line. The last kilometers down the mountain to see this fjordur were actually quite emotional, especially the last victory lap through the town and straight to the ferry. The weather was perfect, the views were stunning, and we were so happy with our achievement. But we were also quite sad to leave. Soon enough we were all checked in and ready to board. And that's it. Just like that, we were done. After 37 days in Iceland and 2,000 kilometers covered on our bikes, we managed to go all the way around the whole country. Well, with a tiny bit of help from a bus or two. Still, in such a short time we've seen so much wildlife, so many natural phenomena, and stunning landscapes, it's hard to believe we were in Iceland for barely more than a month. We saw whales, reindeer, puffins and Arctic foxes, seals and Arctic terns. We went to an active volcano, we bathed in hot springs, we admired the northern lights. We saw thousands of waterfalls, canyons, black beaches. We cycled through the snow, through rain and wind, through the biting cold of the winter and the gentle heat of summer. It was one of the most action-packed adventures we've ever been on, and we couldn't have planned it any better if we tried. All the challenges and the remote nature of Iceland really made us appreciate every hard-earned kilometer. Every time we struggled or doubted our abilities, we were rewarded with yet another unbelievable view, another wild animal, or an act of kindness. And yeah, Iceland might be getting very touristic and crowded, but we can say from experience, if you come at the right time and explore the less popular places, you will barely see another soul. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this adventure, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with what we're up to. And let me just say, we are up to something big, and it's coming soon.